You look nervous.
No, I'm not.
You are. I haven't seen you this nervous since we filmed that pit of gun ducks.
You fell into that nightmare, Master, remember? And I rescued your ass.
Oh, yes.
Well, Padme's out there.
You're sweating. Relax. Take a deep breath.
Oh, man. It's been 10 years since I've seen her, Master, and I know those tits have come in. Now what? What do I say? What do I do?
Just go up there, take your pants off, and say it won't suck itself.
Hey, what's up guys? Rob here from Movie Review Time. Welcome to my next review in the Star Wars movie series marathon. I plan on reviewing every single Star Wars film up until Rise of Skywalker, which actually comes out next week. I'm a little bit behind, but just bear with me. Hope you guys enjoyed that little skit that Dan and I did. For the reviews after this, we've done, skits like probably for the intro and then something at the end, which will probably be bloopers. So stick around to the end of the video. But we have a lot of fun with these things, and because we're huge Star Wars fans. So here we have Star Wars Episode 2, Attack of the Clones, which came out 2002. Now that title, Attack of the Clones, I didn't know what to think about that. The Clone Wars, something that has to do with clones. It was very interesting to me. The movie is set 10 years after the events of Phantom Menace. And I love Phantom Menace, Definitely check out my review. I go over a lot of things. Just like the Phantom Menace, though, this movie was even more hyped up. And I want to say there were people waiting in line.
The question, are you feeling the Force yet? The fifth Star Wars movie will debut here in Hawaii in less than 2 hours at 12:01 a.m. Here's how it looked across the mainland tonight as the movie opened up in Raleigh, North Carolina. More than 100 people lined up for the opening of Star Wars. As you can see, many of them came very well prepared for the big event. And in Chicago, fans have been in line, some for as many as 10 days waiting for the film to debut. Charity events were scheduled in several major cities across the U.S., even parts of Canada.
My cousin and I actually drove 45 minutes to get tickets for Attack of the Clones. And then we drove back home. So we drove to the movie theater to get tickets and then drove back home. This was way before Fandango and all that stuff. But that's how committed we were. And I remember a lot of times where we would stand in line even, I'm not even sure if it was like the midnight showing or not. I know it was premiere night, but there were so many times they were showing it at. But yeah, this movie is, to some people, considered the weakest in the trilogy other than Phantom Menace, as far as prequel trilogy. Now, for me, I would probably put Phantom Menace ahead of this movie just a little bit. But that's not to say that I don't like a lot of things in this film, because I actually do. For a while there, I went on kind of a hiatus with this film. I just started to watch the third movie a lot. But I'd put this one on the back burner, and when I just revisited it, I actually thought, this actually is a pretty damn good film. There are just some things that I guess you would call them nitpicks that I just didn't really care for. But yeah, this is the love story of the prequel trilogy. This is how, Luke and Leia's parents meet and fall in love. And that's interesting. You gotta have that. Luke and Leia wouldn't be born if they didn't get together somehow. So, once again, you have Ewan McGregor playing Obi-Wan Kenobi. And in this movie, he's a mentor. He promised Anakin in Phantom Menace that he would train him to be a Jedi. And he's living up to his word. And he looks different in this. He's kind of got longer hair and a beard. but he's very skillful, and he's awesome in this. You can't have Obi-Wan Kenobi, it seems like, without Ian McGregor playing him, because he definitely showed that he could in Phantom Menace. We have Natalie Portman returning as Padme, and she seems like she has a lot more to do in this film, and I think her lines are a little bit better than the first one, but that's not really saying much, because all of this is just, mushy stuff like the love story. It's just kind of like Romeo and Juliet type stuff, which is fine, but I just wasn't really interested in, I'm just not really interested in her character that much. You have Hayden Christensen. Now, he plays the adult version of Anakin. And, this is set 10 years after, so he's grown quite a bit. And he is a Padawan learner, of course. But Hayden Christensen, he received a lot of flack for being in these Star Wars films. Even maybe more than Jake Lloyd. Because, Hayden, in my opinion, I think he's hit or miss. I think he has more good lines than he does bad. Yes, there are some moments where he falls flat. But again, I think that's the writing and the direction. Because one of my favorite movies with Hayden Christensen is called Awake. If you've never seen that movie with Jessica Alba, definitely check it out. That's a damn good film. But I wouldn't say Hayden Christensen, I don't think he's to blame. Because there were some damn good parts, and I'll go over some of them. But before Hayden Christensen got the role, there were several people who auditioned for the role of Anakin. Jonathan Brandis. Of all people, Jonathan Brandis. You got Ryan Felipe. You got Colin Hanks. And even Paul Walker. I didn't even know that. Paul Walker. Can you imagine Paul Walker? The most interesting, though, was Leonardo DiCaprio, who actually met with Lucas, but he was unavailable because he was super busy. So I wonder how that would have turned out. Leonardo DiCaprio playing Anakin. That, I mean, with all the success Leonardo DiCaprio has had, I'm just wondering how good of a job he would have done if he would have played him. But that's just really interesting to me. But Anakin, Hayden has some damn good lines in this. And, when he turns to the dark side a little bit and he shows compassion for his mother, his mother is, captured by the Tusken Raiders, and when he finds her, she's dying, and you can just see it in his face, his acting. I mean, he's emotional, he's sad, and then he turns angry, and he goes crazy. He's great in that part. That was fantastic. But, just some of the lines that are said, just like later on, it just, I don't know, it just doesn't click. It's not very well written. Ian McDiarmid's in this as Chancellor Palpatine this time. He went to Chancellor, and he's also Darth Sidious. And to be honest, Ian McDiarmid is not even really in this film that much. He shows up here and there, but Darth Sidious doesn't show up until the very, very end. He actually had more screen time as Darth Sidious in Phantom Menace. But he's great. Christopher Lee is Count Dooku. And it's funny how they call him Count because he was Dracula. So I thought that was kind of, reminiscent of when he played Dracula. But he's also known as Darth Tyrannus because the Sith have to have a name. But here's the thing. Count Dooku, I consider to be an undeveloped character. Even in the third movie. They don't develop... He's such a mystery. You don't know if he's a Sith. I mean, his eyes aren't yellow, but he knows how to shoot Force lightning. It's almost like he studied the dark side, and he's very good at it, but he's not really a Sith, so to say, because he doesn't have all the features of a Sith. However, he does have a name, Darth Tyrannus. So he was awarded that name, under Palpatine, of course. But yeah... Count Dooku trained Qui-Gon. Yoda trained Count Dooku, which is interesting. So he was a Jedi. He's considered a fallen Jedi. But he's an interesting character. I just like Darth Maul way better. And I don't know what is with Count Dooku's curved penis lightsaber. That's what I like to call it, like the the bent cock lightsaber, I guess. Samuel L. Jackson reprises his role as Mace Windu, and he acts clouded like always. They just sit in their chairs. You got Tamira, what's his name? Tamira Morrison as Jango, and he plays the clones as well. Jango Fett was awesome. He was like my favorite part of Attack of the Clones. I actually think Boba Fett's a little overrated because if you think about it, Boba Fett didn't really do much. I know he did a lot and then like the expanded stuff, but he didn't do much in the original trilogy. But Jango Fett did a lot. He did a lot, even when he was in his Slave One. He was awesome. Jango Fett was great. That whole fight with Obi-Wan was fantastic. And then Daniel Logan, who played Boba Fett, he's just a kid in this. Boba Fett's a kid. I don't know. He was just kind of weird in this movie. Dad, Conway's here. His acting was really bad. I think it was kind of unnecessary to have him. They act like Boba Fett was such a huge character. I mean, he was a fan favorite, but I still think he's overrated. He didn't do much, like I said. But, that was fan service to put him in there. That's fine. Frank Oz as Yoda, of course, he's CG in this movie. Anthony Daniels as C-3PO, and he is a droid on the Lars homestead. In this movie, you see Uncle Owen and Aunt Beru from New Hope, and they're very young. And Owen is played by Joel Edgerton, which is interesting. But you have a young Owen and Beru, and then I think Owen's father, Klieg, who actually married Shmi, who is Anakin's mother. That whole scene is interesting. Very, very interesting. But yeah, C-3PO works on that farm, the moisture farm. Kenny Baker is R2-D2, of course, great. Lena Walsman, who plays Zam Wessel, who is a bounty hunter and an assassin, which is pretty cool. I wish they would have done more with her. Silas Carson plays Newt Gunray, part of the Trade Federation from Phantom Menace, and he also plays Kai Adimundi, who is a Jedi master. He's on the console. He has the big cone head, like the tall head. So Silas Carson actually plays two people. Ahmed Best comes back as Jar Jar. Jar Jar doesn't have a big part, thank God. Like I said, I'm not really a Jar Jar hater. I'm just saying I just don't really care for the character. I think he's kind of annoying, but the thing is, like, it didn't bother me in this film. He showed up here and there, and that was it. That's fine. But then you got Jimmy Smits. Jimmy Smits plays Bail Organa, who is Leia's adopted father. And he is actually the senator of Alderaan. And Alderaan is the planet they blew up in New Hope. So there you go. That's another look back to New Hope there. But Jimmy Smits, he's awesome. He has a bigger part in the third movie. Rose Byrne, who plays the handmaiden of Padme. First it was Keira Knightley in Phantom Menace, and now we have Rose Byrne. But yeah, a great cast. I mean, fantastic cast, And I think everyone did their jobs to the best of their ability. But the story is based around Padme, and she is being hunted down by these bounty hunters and assassins. People are trying to assassinate her. Jango Fett is with Zam Wessel, and Zam Wessel's trying to assassinate her, and they're hired by someone else who we don't know. But the movie is basically, she's being hunted down, and they send two Jedi to protect her, Obi-Wan and Anakin. Anakin's still in love with her. He thinks about her all the time. He's older. And so, they run into some problems and some trouble, and the movie almost turns into like a Batman film. And it's like Obi-Wan turns into Batman, because it starts to be like a detective film. The council orders Anakin to escort Padme back to her home planet of Naboo. So we get to see Naboo again. And, that he's ordered to protect her. while Obi-Wan goes off on his own and tries to find out, more about who's trying to kill her. He finds this toxic dart. He has it examined by his buddy who works at this diner, and then he goes to this planet called Camino, which is amazing. It's the where the cloners live. It's like this water planet. It was fantastic, but the planet was erased from the archives. And again, it's a mystery. Who did it? Who erased the planet from the archives? Yoda says that only a Jedi could have erased those files, but who? And that is another kind of that is kind of a gripe there. I guess we kind of get a tidbit on who did it, but they don't really fully explain what's going on with this. They even mention Sifus Dyas, Master Sifus Dyas, who was killed, but again, they don't go into who really he was. I guess you have to read the backstory of him, but Obi-Wan goes to this cloning planet and meets these people who are making a clone army out of Jango Fett's DNA. Basically, they take Jango Fett's DNA and they make all these clone troopers. I thought that was kind of cool. And Obi-Wan has a confrontation with Jango Fett because Jango was there trying to, he was there with Zam Wesell trying to assassinate Padme, and he was hired by somebody named Darth Tyrannus. So again, Darth Tyrannus is Count Dooku. See how it all fits down? It's like down the grapevine. But yeah, that's basically the story. Is they try to find out who's trying to kill her, and then Anakin is trying to get closer to Padme because he's in love with her. But she's kind of a tease in this movie. She keeps just like putting it off, like, oh, we shouldn't do this, or I don't know why I kissed you, and things like that. You'll always be that little boy in Tatooine. It's like, why don't you just slap in the face and just say, get the hell out of here. You're not good enough for me. They might as well. I felt bad for Anakin in this movie because he's trying to get closer. She pushes him away, and then he loses his mother. That was a fantastic scene. And when they revisit Tatooine, because he keeps having dreams about his mother, and he goes to Tatooine and on the Lars, moisture farm where Luke was. That's where we start with New Hope, where Luke was. That's the same homestead, and that is awesome. That is amazing. It's amazing to know that Luke's dad once went on that same farm. That is crazy to think about. But his mother ends up dying, and that's when his first descent into the dark side happens. He kills all the Tusken Raiders. I killed them all. But not just the men, but the women. And the children, too. They're like animals, so I slaughtered them like animals. I hate them. Da, 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 da. Yeah, fantastic slide to the dark side. That was awesome. So many great scenes in this movie. And then you have the third act where the clone troopers come in on this planet where Count Dooku is, and Obi-Wan and Anakin and Padme get into some trouble. They get captured in this arena, and they have like this gladiator arena thing happening. And there's this huge Jedi versus droid battle with the clones interfering as well. That was all really, really cool. The special effects were great in this. There was a lot of CGI environments, but I think it was a step up from Phantom Menace. You can actually tell in a lot of points in this film where the whole CGI environments looked way better than it did in Phantom Menace. You're talking 2002, so it's years later, but great scenes. Yoda, we see him actually use a lightsaber for the very first time in this, and that was probably the stealing moment of the show. Is him fighting Count Dooku, and they were pretty much evenly matched. But the saber battles in this, I want to say I enjoyed the battles in Phantom Menace a little bit more, even though they were entertaining here. But all the Jedi attacking the droids, Kit Fisto, Plo Koon, you got some of these great Jedis who, again, they don't really go into detail unless you buy the toys or read the comics. You're not going to know who any of these Jedi are because they don't go into any backstory about who the Jedi Council is. There's even a Jedi called Yaddle, who's actually, I guess, the same kind of breed as Yoda. But we never know that unless you look that up. So that was kind of disappointing. You have all these awesome Jedi, but you never know. Mace Windu has a damn good part in this too, where he fights Jango and he uses his purple lightsaber. That was great. The Jedi stuff was really awesome. I didn't care for the droid factory. That was actually added in later. I thought the CG kind of looked bad on there, especially with C-3PO. That was kind of bad, but whatever. John Williams made another great theme called Across the Stars. Not as good as Duel of the Fates, but it was definitely a main theme. Had a budget of $115 million, and it made $649 million at the box office. Great film, man. I just love this movie overall. But I would say that I liked Phantom Menace a little bit more. There's something I don't agree with, though. Hayden Christensen actually won Worst Supporting Actor in the 2003 Stinkers Bad Movie Awards. That's a little uncalled for. I don't think he was that bad. Like, honestly. I think he has some poor lines in Episode 3, to be honest. Episode 2, though, it really wasn't that bad. It really wasn't. There's some very enjoyable parts. Like I said, I like all the clone stuff, the Clone War things. And, yeah, just overall, it's just a very entertaining film. Some of the love story stuff was very slow paced. I guess in the second act, a lot of people complain about that. It's not a big deal, but they had to establish the characters getting together and falling in love. They had to establish that. In a way, it doesn't, kind of seem rushed at times, but either way, it had to happen. It had to happen. So it had to be believable. So, anyway, that's my review for Attack of the Clones. Hope you guys enjoyed it. Stay tuned for my next video, which is going to be Star Wars Episode 3, Revenge of the Sith.
You look nervous.
Not at all.
I haven't felt you this nervous since we fell into that nest of gunducks.
You haven't felt me.
You look nervous.
Nope.
The fuck? I sense it, stupid. You look nervous.
No, I'm not.
You look nervous.
Not at all.
I don't think I haven't seen you this nervous since we fell into that pit of gunducks.
I'm hungry. Well, Padme's out there. I haven't seen her in 10 years, Master, and I know, just coming of age. Man, we've both been through puberty now, so, like, all of our organs are ready to hump.
Well, then you should